You change your default thing in Twitch. Time. So they brought back a one-click thing. So before. All right. Smaller. All right. Good morning. Welcome. Happy Saturday. I will need another window actually. Do a different one. Okay. Use that when we get to it. All right. Yes. Welcome. I am a couple minutes behind because I was not ready yet and I wanted to make some coffee, so I did. That is on. So yes, good morning. For anyone that's new, what's up, Johnny? Nice to see you, my friend. For anybody that's new, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord, and I typically stream at this time around 10 a.m. Central Time each week, Central US time, working on some CircuitPython stuff, and we are back today to do the same. Note, I don't think I'll be around next week. I think I'm gonna take next week off. So we will probably be back on Saturday the 4th. I may pop up at some point before then, but it is unlikely to be in the usual sort of 10 a.m. time slot on Saturday. It might just be random, and I might not actually pop up. It just depends on if I'm doing something interesting and feel like popping the stream on for a bit. But I don't know when it will be, and it may not happen. So you can follow if you want. Otherwise, probably, like I said, the 4th of January is likely the next time I'll be back on Saturday. If you are new and you don't know the gist of what I work on typically, it's usually stuff surrounding CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python that can run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Plug these devices into your computer. It shows up like a thumb drive. You can edit the code on there. There's a little Python code file. You edit that when you save it. The microcontroller, the actual computer that's in these chips, will read that Python code and execute it for you. And then from your code, you can interface with all sorts of other hardware that is connected to the microcontroller. Lots of these microcontroller devices have sort of general I/O pins along the sides that you can connect whatever you want to. but there are others that are more purpose-built that kind of have their own set of built-in peripherals, and then less ability to add stuff, although still some ability to add different things as well. That is the quick version. As always, thanks to Adafruit. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York that makes CircuitPython possible by paying both myself and the rest of the team who work on CircuitPython to do so. And if you want to help support it, you can do so just by buying hardware from them. They have microcontrollers. Lots of the ones that support CircuitPython are designed and manufactured by them, although there are loads of third-party ones as well. They also sell, oops, I should not have closed that. They also sell all sorts of other little bits and bobs that you can connect to your microcontroller if you do have those extra pins and things. Let me get the browser back. Okay. So where we're starting today is in the newly released Wiz library. I'm going to tweak one of the examples here. The buttons controller, also let me get the camera because that is looking at the thing we are doing, albeit somewhat fuzzily. I have a Feather S2, I think. S2 or S3? I think it's an S2 on this one. Feather S2 plugged into a breadboard with just some basic buttons, and the code for it is here, but we are going to tweak it to use keypad instead of digital in out. I don't think I knew that keypad could do individual pins. I thought it was always matrices. Matrices. But keypad can do individual pins as well, and that actually will make this code a fair bit simpler, which is nice. So let's go to Wiz in PyCharm. And this will be somewhat convenient and lead into the next thing I want to work on, which is in the screenshot tool, because we'll be taking a screenshot of this example. Trying to get it to do something that it's not currently, but we'll get to that, cross that bridge when we get to it, as they say. Inside Wiz examples, we're going to go buttons, and this is why I grabbed this window, which we can steal this code from. Link. Hard report goes to Dan for this one. 11, yeah, 12, no, 11, yeah, 11, 12, and then 1, 0. Okay. That is in the same order. This will give us a list of, well, not really a list of buttons, but a button object that maps where we have 1, 2, 3, 4 like we did before. We will need to import it, which is just keypad. No idea how I pressed led to doing that, but okay. Can I find keys? I think need from keypad. Let's look at the keypad example. I have used it before, but I don't not very frequently. I don't know the code off the top of my head, the imports and everything. It's like from keypad, import keypad, or is it just, this one is it's using digital IO actually. Okay. Wait. Yeah. I think we want scanning. Yeah, I think we want this. Events. Just keypad keys. So I wonder, is that this is kind of a rabbit hole. Is that not in the stubs, or I don't find reference to keys? Add stubs. Well, I didn't really necessarily mean to go ahead and edit it right away, but well, so yeah, first of all, that was on shift register keys for one thing. At the very least, not what we're using. Keys is here. Should it be capital? Maybe it should be capital. That's probably it. Yeah, okay. Sweet. So the IDE was actually telling us we got it wrong. It was correct. Good morning, C. Grover. Nice to see you, my friend. Coffee cheers. Let me do so. Let's start here for a while. I'll comment this stuff for now. We're gonna end up with something very similar. This is buttons. Event is pressed if event key number is 0. I guess we should go ahead and swap these around, I think, just so they match. And then let's build this part first. This will basically be same from here. Let's get a little one. I don't know why. And all the way back. All the way back when I pasted it. It's getting like different there. And we don't need the sleep actually because this is debouncing with pressed. And the sleeps essentially were just to debounce. I mean debounce and or slow it down, I would say, truthfully. I did not necessarily plan on the fact that you could hold the buttons down and then it would do the things multiple times. But I will admit to having just held the RGB button down and watched it cycle colors really fast for a while, so it's not altogether a bad thing either. No, so it's that this one is too far back. It's not that those are too far in. Or why it's like that. I also didn't have the print. Any of the other ones. One went all at the same. It's because I had the print. So the comment being the first line that I copied, that's probably what happened. Or I should say that's probably the cause for it. Whoa, that's like nice. Well, I think I've seen this. I think you've shared at least parts of this API, maybe. Or not API, rather, the UI, I should say. Oh, did that mess up the, yeah, sort of, sorry. Let's do it this way. Yeah, that looks nice. I like the UI. Weather system, okay. I like all the rounded edges and stuff. That's a real nice looking It's a really nice looking UI. Nice. Got the shop temperatures and the outside temperatures going. Sunrise, sunset. Megabytes. What are the megabytes at the bottom? Whoa, we went for it already. Oh, that's pretty trippy. Oh, maybe it's millibars of pressure. Is that MB also? I don't know. 92.7. Then it looks like this is kind of the heartbeat as well, sort of. Every time it updates. Nice. Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing. Is it a... Yeah, I'm guessing from the USB placement, it's a feather wing and a feather down there. Not like a pi portal. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping for a new pi portal one of these days with an ESP available memory. Oh, I gotcha. Wow, there's a lot of memory on those things. 8 megs, interesting. And CPU temp. We will do 3 and then 2. And then I think we got all of this stuff, so I'm going to delete all this. We could do the line there just to keep it a little bit more broken up. Okay, let's make sure that works. I don't know if this is the right file, actually. Yeah, this is totally not the right file. I should close this so I don't just randomly edit it. Yeah, in fact, it can't be the right file because the microcontroller is not plugged in, so. And in fact, I should turn down here. So we're gonna need it in a minute anyway. 3.5-inch wing in S2. Nice. Combo device to replace the 2 existing pi portal displays. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, I found like networking and stuff is quite a bit faster as well. If you're fetching stuff from the internet, for sure. Okay, let's see if that worked. I think, is this button 1? Yeah, that did work. I don't... Again, we're kind of back into the state where I cannot easily show you the light without it just like immediately wrecking the entire rest of everything, camera-wise. But you can maybe at least see it turn on and off like that. And then, actually, I think if it was off and we press another button, it will turn on. Is that true? Yeah. If it's off and you press another button, it will turn it on as well. You don't actually have to turn it, like you don't actually have to press explicitly the on button and then like the color button, the temperature button. You can, in fact, just press the color or temperature or party mode. And all of these are totally working. These ones are more difficult to tell, but you could see the yellow one, which is the most apparent. This one here is like super duper warm, all the way as warm as it goes. This is a little bit, I guess, cooler, a little bit cooler, a little bit cooler. I think that one's all the way cool. I think are actually hotter temperatures, right? Is that how that works? I don't know. Cooler, when I say warmer and cooler, I mean the temperature, like orange and yellow are warm, blue and green are cool. But I think maybe the temperatures go the other way. The hot ones are cooler colors, maybe? Higher numbers at the very least. In Kelvin, whatever they use. And then party mode will just go to colors and change it over and over again on some cycle. Oh, that's working fine. I'm gonna flip that down for a minute and back to here. Put button, basic push buttons, initialization. Say with keypad. And do we need to say get button press events? Button events? Oh, got an extra sleep we don't need. Do want an empty line though. Okay. Not about duplicated. Yeah, that's fine. It's in this file too, I guess. That's fine. Pre-commit. Yeah. That's one of the tricks with pre-commit now is that with ref it always does these warnings because of the preview of this thing. But if you just run it again, sometimes a couple of times, sometimes I have to do it 2 or 3 or 4 times, but if you keep running it, as long as everything is passing, then it will eventually not print all of these things, and it will eventually show passed. And then even if it's not passing, it will, at least in my experience, it has pared the stuff down, so you don't have to necessarily go look in the middle of that giant thing of warnings or whatever for your problems. I've found it to be a little bit more forgiving than Pylint about some things as well. I think it's a nice nice compromise of like doesn't let you do things that are egregious, but it also doesn't just complain about a lot of stuff that we end up doing and kind of needing to do ultimately. Oh, we don't need that. Actually, in fact, I'm surprised that that is actually one thing I'm a bit surprised it doesn't flag on is unused imports. Make sure it again. So it wants to reformat the new lines or anything. Yeah, I guess we could make a new branch probably. We can update maybe. Main. I think I can just say new branch from main like this, and it will keep my changes hopefully. Maybe let's copy this file just in case. Use keypad. An example. Button example, I guess. AIO Plus, Regional Weather Station, and AIO Workshop Corrosion Monitor. Nice. Just keypad. Button remote control. Okay. As long as that passes here, I will ping Dan on there. Dan is the one who gave that idea. I do like, because it simplifies the setup a whole lot. And it does the debouncing, which is ultimately what I was trying to like kind of cheat my way into with the time sleeps. Even though spamming was kind of fun as well. But okay, next thing that I want to look into is plugged in. Let me go to here. The guide for the Wiz Lights, which is not published yet, but I'm working on it. And it will make it easier to illustrate what I want to work on next. So these file structure, these like drive structure screenshots come from a utility, and basically I want settings.toml to be here. I think settings.toml should be here. It's supposed to be here because this is using connection manager, and I just tried to make it so that when you use connection manager, it will add settings.toml, but it doesn't seem to have worked. So you're going to look into why it's not working. Did I misspell connection manager? Yeah, I don't know why it's not working. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on next. So libraries that require settings says we have this thing which checks if settings is required, and then if it's in the list. So basically we have a list of libraries and files, in fact. We have a list of files and libraries that we are going to include in the screenshot. So like all the files and libraries. So in this case, Wiz, Connection Manager. CodePy, I think, is its own special case, so I don't think it's included, but it gets kind of like hard-coded in later, if I recall correctly, which like, it's been a minute since I've been in this code, so it's possible I don't. And essentially we're looping over all of those, and we're saying for each one, if it's in the list of libraries that require settings, we return true. If we get to the end and we haven't found any, then we return false. Ew. Yeah, that's the problem, actually, NPY. Okay. My bad. Yeah, it needs NPY, because Connection Manager is a single file, and that does that. Do we want to like splice NPY or something, or just add it? I think we just add it. Yeah. I think we just add it. Rather than trying to make the code like work both ways. I will try to test it this time. I think, can it be done on so I forget that it can be done on individual ones, but I don't know if it can be done on individual examples. So individual learn guide. I guess we could do it on the whole bundle. Okay. One thing we should do is when I figure this out, I should also update the README with how to do it on an individual example, if that's possible. Images for bundle style repo. So if we say bundle help, get more stuff. Bundle option paths, generate images for a bundle style repo, just as help. Okay, I think maybe we're not going to be able to do Maybe you cannot do a single one. Yeah, because learn has a -G for the guide name. Maybe we should add that for bundle. That would actually be kind of nice to be able to test one. So for bundle, it's going to go and do the pictures for the examples. If pool? Pool, what is that? Pool. Paths. Pool IMAP. I don't know, what is this doing? This is click thing or processing? First of all, why are we in some like super random Python instance? Inside the IDE? What is this? Helpers? Oh, type shed multi-pro? I don't think that's the right thing. Maybe. Multi-processing pool. I have no idea. I don't think I added that part. I did create the screenshotting part of this, but I don't think I did any multi-processing. What does this actually do? Processing. Parallelism. Okay. So it will run a function on a list of inputs and then give you back a list of outputs. Why is this 5 though? With pool 5 as p? P.map function and then the list of inputs. We have IMAP. IMAP different? What does IMAP do? And what is the... And we're not doing... We're just doing nothing in the constructor pool. Processes. Oh, okay. If you use 5 processes but only have 3 inputs, are you actually... Will it use 5 processes or only 3? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. What is IMAP? Is that different somehow? IMAP unordered? Is it just inverse or... Note that might cause high memory usage for very long iterables. Consider using IMAP or IMAP unordered. Lazier version of map. Chunk size. We're not using. A lazier version of map. I have no idea what that means. A lazier version of map. But apparently better for long iterables, I guess. I don't know. Why would a lazy one be better for a bigger list of inputs? Wouldn't a lazy one be better at less inputs? I don't know. Anyway. So, but essentially it's going to call this function with each of these inputs, I think. And paths comes from the command line. So I guess we could point it at 1 by just, oops, not bund. I guess we could point it at 1 by just not pointing it at the entire bundle, but instead pointing it at just the one we want to do. But does it need to be the top? Well, it might not work though, because how it's gonna go try to find the examples folder, and it will be too deep to find it, Probably, unless it's like smarter than I'm thinking. I should have probably done this before, but I didn't, so we get to wait on this for a minute. This Wiz is brand new and thus will need to be old or whatever. In fact, I might need to do something else. I'm not sure. Okay. While that's running, keep it somewhere where I can see it. I know you can't see it, but I can see it. And then we will also step into this and figure out what happens with paths. Okay, that's an example path. So then we can actually probably just pass an individual one. Yeah, maybe we can just get one. And then paths, I guess, that's going to come from the user. So does it not? I thought it took the path to the like bundle, the top level path to the bundle, which contained all the libraries, which in turn contain the examples folders. But this says example path. Also, interestingly, path singular here. Oh, but that's because of map, and it's plural here. But that's because of mapping. Okay. Image name, join the element for element in split. If the element's not... Okay, so basically we're recreating names for the files by bringing together all the path to it, except we're skipping libraries, which is a folder inside the bundle, drivers and helpers, which are folders inside of libraries, and then examples, which is inside the repo. So we'll end up with like repo name, example name, which means we must be getting a list that goes directly to examples. But how do we end up with a list that goes directly to examples if we just give paths? This finished. Did not actually pull anything here. I'm a little suspicious of that. Okay. So can I like give it this and then I'm in the right directory right now. So up. Libraries helpers Wiz. Directory. It's not untrue. Paths. So we just got that. I feel like I am not understanding the correct way actually to use this. So it seems like we do actually need to target the examples directly, but then where does the code that gets all the examples from the bundle exist? Because this is the click command bundle. So when you run generate images or whatever, create requirement images bundle, I mean, I don't think you would be passing a huge list of every single example in the bundle? Is that how this works? says learn only, I think. Oh, totally does. Yeah. Okay. So you can run it on an individual one very, very easily by just targeting the one you want. And in fact, this is targeting them all individually using bash to, I presume this is like getting a list of all of them. And then cannot scroll all the way here for some reason, but my next guess is also that this is gonna take this list and pass it in to this one by one. Does the IMAP inside of there matter if this is getting called multiple times from Linux rather than like getting called? Oh, it's not getting called multiple times though. I bet this is joining together. So we're getting like a space, we are end up with like a space separated list of every example, I think. Okay. Okay, so we can point it to one directly, which is bundle up, bundle libraries, helpers, whiz, examples, and I want the button example. Which, by the way, did that pass actions? Yes. Okay, and then that will end up here. It gets a weird name because of the dot dots, but that's fine. Yes, and there's our settings.toml. Because of our connection manager MPY, which we're correctly checking for the .mpy now. So let me add to README how this works. Generate single library example. It's not even, doesn't even have to be a library example. I mean, it's like ultimately it just can target a code file, I guess. I mean, it's kind of hard coded to be a library example because the way it removes like libraries, helpers, drivers, examples. Okay, yeah, let's call it a library example since that's what it's meant for. But realistically, you could target any Python file, I think. Generate single library example image shell Python 3, which I don't ever actually type. Create requirement images.py bundle. And then it would be the path to the one you want. We don't really need that. Our only changes should be the README. And then the actual MPY in the code. Do we want to include information about how to run it on all the examples, or just not? I mean, the information about how to run it on all the examples effectively is the same. You just need to get a list of all of them. We could put that bash command it's using. Should we call this library bundle example? So since this is bundle here. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that this command is only useful to you if you have the bundle in the exact right spot already. We could update this, would probably be good. Where does the bundle get checked out though, actually? Because, oh, right. Yeah. I guess, yeah, it's not, doesn't really call it the bundle getting checked out because we're inside the bundle. It's just actions check out. And then it does have a submodules, which is what's going to actually get all the rest of the libraries inside the bundle. So you basically, in order to run this command as it is here, you need the bundle to exist and have the correct name in the directory where you are running this command, which in fact is the directory above the actual Python file. Truthfully, I think it would be nice to move that into Python instead of Bash. I don't think I want to document it here, because it requires so many, like, you have to have it this exact way, basically. But the way that the Learn Guide one works, you set Learn Guide repo, and then when you run this with no further command, no further things, you get all the images for everything it found in the Learn Guide repo. I think it would be nice, and then if you want to target a single one, then you do guide. I think it would be nice if you just did like bundle with no path. Well, realistically, I feel like we should have a dash dash like E, like dash E or dash dash example, so that this kind of matches this, and then this doesn't have you do learn, but we would have this do bundle, and if you don't pass an individual one, then it would do a similar kind of thing. There would be a bundle repo, and you would need to set it to the location, and then it would go and traverse inside of there and find everything. But at the end of the day, it doesn't, like, do anything differently, right? Like, it does effectively do this today from Bash, and it doesn't really, it's not broken. There's not really a reason to spend time on it, I should say. But it is odd that the Learn Guide side of this, I mean, ultimately this tool kind of got split into two things a little bit. The Learn Guide side of it kind of is aimed at doing them all at once, and then the bundle side of it is aimed at doing them one at a time, but there is ultimately code out there that does them all at once. It's just outside the repo rather than inside the repo. Although perhaps the actions for the Learn Guide one actually make use of these and not this anyway. I'm not sure. It's possible that the Learn Guide ones do something similar with find or whatever. Anyway, I think this is good for now. I don't think I want to document the find thing. I don't think I want to work on bringing it in, even though I do think it would make more sense to match learn. It's just not like, doesn't matter really at the end of the day, basically. Yeah, and ultimately, I think if you're familiar with the infrastructure and how it's used, then it's relatively easy to go find where where the actual code is that's doing the magic in this case. Yeah, I think we're ready to push that. Call it an extension, I guess. Oop. Let's really do that way. Okay, keep this tab so that we can, if it doesn't pass, I can come back and try to fix it. All right, next up is English choice a little bit. No, don't want that. Move the space. I'm gonna remove the space. How about we just don't do things like this? Why is the ban button always in a different place? Maybe I'm just not remembering the place where it's at. I feel like it's always in a different place though. Okay. Random, but if anyone knows about Twitch, how do you set your default category? I need help with that apparently. I've been streaming in the Moonbreaker category for the last like year and a half or something, unintentionally, which is a video game that I played for a bit. It's a fun game, but it's not really what I stream about most typically. I need to figure out how to change that on Twitch. I've changed it for last week's stream, I think, and I changed it for this week's stream, but I want to set it every week. I need to figure out how to change the one where it's like the default one that it will go to if I don't otherwise change it. So if you happen to know that about Twitch, drop me a line. I appreciate it. Okay, that passed. I'll pick up on this, which I started off stream. We'll see if I can finish it up. I'm working on type annotations for this library, OV2640, which is a camera. Or none, because it's a setter. Didn't notice it wasn't put there. And I'm almost done, truthfully. The parts that need work still are hopefully not going to be super challenging, but I did skip them originally. So some part of me thought they would be. There is a giant list of things here. So these are the things we need, and I'm thinking / hoping maybe that most of these are ultimately ints, since this is looking like just reading registers, which have addresses that are ints and give data that is ints, although you tend to care about the bits inside of it more than the numbers. But I don't know for sure. We need to... I think we need to like find a usage test pattern RJW bits. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so that's says any bank sensor, but it is a const, which is an int. It says type any, but that's also so I think these are gonna probably be all ints most likely, but shift and mask, those two definitely are. So that's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's 4. So we had 2 consts that are both ints, and then we had shift and mask that are just directly hard-coded ints. Nice. Super easy. Okay. So these, I don't know, I'm not entirely sure why this is here. I guess it's different than normal, these are kind of like in bus, is it bus device, I think? Or... I think bus device, but I guess this must be customized somehow. Thing different going on in here than just what bus device does, I suppose. Constructor returns none, even though it feels weird. Get. So that's gonna be, I think, an int, and then return ultimately an int as well. But we'll need to, if we can actually find a usage. Not entirely sure if we're gonna be able to. Oh, okay, that's setting test pattern to false. But yeah, our reg bits. Is it a single bit in that case? Disk 1? Shift 1, shift 5. Bank sensor COM9. Ceiling. So this one gets set to const, which is an int, and it looks like right now it's on 2x, but it can go up to 128x, which is 0 through 6. So I think it can be seemingly Boolean in the case of a single bit one, but then a number in the case of a multi-bit one. So union bool int. I do not know what object type would be. That's gonna return an int because it's going to get a value bank register. Oh no, something's wrong here because that says object. Oh, I was looking at setting. That was value. This should be value. It probably is going to return an int, but I'm not sure. Setting does return none. Like mask ultimately determines the size. Mask is the last one? Yeah. So gain ceiling had a mask of 7, which is 111. Which means ultimately I think that it's a 3-bit register bit thing. And then test pattern, all the rest of them all have a mask of 1, so they are only a single bit, which is why they're true false when they're set. So are any of them ever gotten? Sets to itself. I mean, well, so object, I guess, would be, I don't know, what is object? I don't know how the getters work. It gets most of these. A little bit odd that nothing ever uses gain setting. Why does... It gets set during initialization, but then it never gets used. Well, it gets used internally inside the thing, I guess. Okay. Okay, let's save those for a minute. I'm not sure what object and object type. Well, so read bank register is defined here on hammer base, so I guess object is going to be that. Then object type, I don't know. Not sure. I guess it's not finding it because it's after. Or else it needs to be, I mean, it shouldn't need to be imported though, because it's in the same file. I don't know. It's not getting hoisted or something. Type is optional if nothing else, I guess. I don't think we want to just put optional by itself. I suppose we could. We could put optional any. I assume it's a class or something. Maybe. Python get obj type annotations. Type. Okay. How would this get passed though? Can you pass this if do you have to explicitly use the dunder get? Because usually when you call get, it's by like accessing the value of it. How would you pass an argument to that? Type instance. Yeah, I mean, they're manually calling it. Okay. It's all of that stuff, and then we already have I2C bus int for the address, return none. Register bits, we know these are all ints because these are the same bank register, shift, and mask that we had on the other class. That one is also returning an int. Value is going to be, I guess, the same as we saw before, where it can be technically a number or a boolean, depending on how many bits. Or type int. Maybe we should just do int on that one. At least this part, it looks like they are all ints. And that's the only place where it calls it, so int. It's possible maybe it supports boolean too, but this does not return anything. Right, list, register list. So I presume that's a list of ints for like addresses. Okay. It's, I think, address. We just went further down the same thing. I think it's like address and then value because it's going I plus 1, and counting by 2. List ints. Doesn't return. Int. I think is also an int. This one gets a result. This from read register, which will be an int. Yeah, because it gets a byte array and returns one thing from it. All right, then we got that extends that. And then these I think I've mostly done, although clearly there are some here I have not. Shut down and reset, I'm pretty sure those are optional pins. Optional pins. Down, yeah, optional micro. In fact, it says here. Writable buffer and this. Memory view, buffer. I think that will be a list of ints. I'm not actually sure. Well, if buffer was a byte array, that's let's say 32. Will just be filled with zeros for now. Memory view of buffer, then I don't know what EOI is, but oh, that's trying to find this thing here. End of something info, maybe? End of something, it's something in the JPEG spec, so +2, let's just say I made it 32, let's just do 16 for now. Is a memory view. Okay. What does it do? Can you like get a thing from it or? Yes. Sir. So then I guess it will be a memory view. Class memory view, yeah. Oh. Okay, well, yeah, we have writable buffer for this. Technically, we could put writable buffer here. Writable buffer comes from CircuitPython typing, and it has those two things listed there. Also, maybe a couple of others that work, I think. Oh, it is optional because it can return none. Okay, returns an int, frequency, optional. I would guess that's going to be them out. WM out dot frequency. What is that? CircuitPython docs WM out. Is that an int or a float? I don't actually know. Frequency int. Int. 32 value, which 32-bit value dictates the frequency in hertz. So it will be an int if it exists, or it will be none. So it's an optional int. Okay, width is an int, height is an int, bytes for that. Color space is bytes, return none. I think the rest of these are probably done, but I'm gonna stroll through them here. Make sure none, int, none. Size is an int and it returns none. Flip is none. Flip x, boolean, return none, boolean, boolean, return none. Product ID expected. That's an int. Version. Product version, I'm actually less sure about. This here says 0x4x. I'm not sure what that exactly means, 4x. 0x implies it's hex, but then it ends with an x, which is not typical. So I don't know if that's a typo or if there's something more interesting there. Can you use this on, which camera is on the Memento? Is this the Memento? So I know OVA, whatever, I think it's the one that's in the dev kit for Kaluga or whatever it's called, but is it also one that's on the Memento? It is. OV5640 is what we're on, right? Oh, 2640. Shoot. What is a 2640 then? That the 6 different 5640 here. All of these are actually 5640. Cowbell with camera, that's interesting. Like Adafruit doesn't have the 2640. Does this support both or not? Is there a library for the 5640? Oh, there's different versions. I have no idea. What I would be looking for. Different ones, and it's actually a third different one, 3630 instead of 56. Unclear. I mean, I guess it came with different ones over a different period of time or something. But in any case, I think that it must be an int because it's doing like read bank register, which is read register is going to read an int out of there, right? Like in some cases you might not care about it as an int, you might care about it as bits, or you might care about it as like some part of it means one thing and some other part of it means another thing, but I'm guessing that it is not meant to be for X. We wanted to go super deep, I guess we could try to dig up OV2640 data sheet, see if we can find the version register. But it might be a little bit difficult to find the version register. One of a lot of other versions here. Register. Try to find like a register. Try VER space, cover glass, no. Over. Those got us there, so it's not VER in the data sheet at least. Well, that might not be finding just like VER in a table, right? I think Maybe we look at the table of contents, if such a thing exists, which doesn't really seem to. All right, quick skim. Register set. Version register is bank register, so that's bank sensor. Register version is 0B. 0.8 though, 0B. 0D. I don't know, are these different tables, different banks? Provides a list of control registers for all registers enabled to disable. Different sets of register banks. Register FF controls which says accessible. When that's 0, table 12 is effective. When it's 1, table 13 is effective. Sheet 1 of 4. Sheet 2 of 4. Okay, so those are the different banks. We're looking for version and 0B. Notes. This one has 7 sets, when that is 1. I guess I could search for 0B. Alright, nothing. IDL? Oh, was I looking in the wrong? I was looking in the wrong column the whole time. Nice. Default value in hex is 41. So 26 was... Okay, so I think we can fix that. So that's supposed to be a 41, I think. Yeah, 0x26. That's the default expected value for the ID, which is actually conveniently the one here. There's our 26. This is actually 41 right there. Bam. And it is an int. All right, so a little bit off the beaten path, but got some good stuff. All right, and then I think that's everything. Save this, pre-commit. We should make a branch probably. No idea if this is updated or not. There's not conflicts, thank you. Let's go get checkout -b type annotations track. We can pre-commit. It's not going to run Pylint. Should look at what's the most recent. I don't actually know what's the most recent version of Pylint. Okay, so one of the things is that the newer Pylint does have the too many things, so we actually can ignore these for now. They're not. I didn't change the number of arguments on anything, so none of that is really related to my change, and it's all just related to the fact that I updated to a Pylint that I'm able to run, which now has different checks. But ultimately, we're switching to rough, which I think has some of its own checks around how many arguments you use or whatever, but it's a different, I think it's a different threshold or something. Maybe let's make sure the docs build. I did do a lot of typing. I know the docs, I think some part of the docs use the type. I'm not sure, actually. They definitely use the doc strings, which also typically, well, maybe not typically, but sometimes contain the type information, like these ones. But I'm not sure if they use the type annotations in the code as well or not. I think so. All right, super quick scroll through here, make sure we didn't do anything insane. We could skip past the giant list of values. I wonder if the one that does return a memory view should be either readable or writable buffer. Still am not particularly confident in my ability to know when you should use which one, but we did replace union memory view and something else, byte array or whatever, with writable buffer. But I mean, it is literally a memory view. We see that it called memory view, so we know the type is more specific. I don't have a remote. Thank you to PyCharm for saving my skin here when I go to push without actually having a remote, and it allows me to do something other than just pushing to a remote I don't really want to. Might not even have a fork of this, honestly. Oh, I do. Oops. Okay, we can add that, then we can go foamy guy, type annotations. Type annotation. Okay. Do I have another one that I can get into that is possible to do in 26 minutes? Probably not. What are some of the other ones here? If this is on the Memento, I can do some testing. I can't do Pico, really. Expect we are gonna have a big list of these again. Register bits, camera base. Camera base is all underscore private stuff. Then OV56 is the public interface. And this sounds like we just don't have a property for this. Exposure value? Exposure value? Actually, there are both. Um, it's not, yeah, so the thing here is it's not setting it. This gets set to 0. Presumably this is a init. Yeah. And then it never gets set again in the rest of this code, and it gets returned here as 0, which is what this person saw. The real question, I think, is should this set the value into underscore EV as long as it was valid? Or should we go and read it out of the register? So actually white balance would have the exact same problem, I believe. Because it similarly gets set to 0, gets returned from the getter, but doesn't ever get set anywhere. Night mode is reading the register. Contrast is also reading the register. This one even has the same kinds of value, in fact, actually, because this says -4 to 4 inclusive, which is the exact same thing this says. So I'm inclined to say we just shouldn't have underscore EV and underscore white balance. Those probably just should not exist, and then the getters should read the register. But we're offset register value in sensor EV levels value. Okay. That's going through each one of those with enumerate, so we're going to get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We write that. So we basically have a list of bytes that we want to write. We're writing each one in subsequent registers. We start at this. The first one is 0, so we write the first value into that register. We write the next value into 5382. We write the next value into 5384, 5385. For however many values, we write one extra. -3 to +3? It's kind of a weird range, but I guess that's why this is... Yeah, okay, so 0, I guess, is technically in the middle, kind of the middle in my head, but then we get +1, +2, +3, and then the minuses wrap around. Yeah. So, yeah. Maybe that's why there was a variable. Because if we want to read the register, we would have to read all of the registers, however many we need, based on the length of these values. And then we would need to check the values we read against all these lists of lists to find which one of these lists actually matches the values that we read out of the register. Which we could do, but it is a lot of stuff to do, kind of. And even if we could do index, list.index will return to you the index of the value. I think it should work with a list of lists, although I'm not positive. But even if it did, we still need to subtract to get it negative, but also treat 0 specially in order to convert it back to like -4 to +4. Okay. My inclination is probably the fact that that would be a pain is why there was initially created these variables. And therefore, I think probably the right fix is just to, after we confirm that it's valid, just set the value into _EV and _white balance. That way we're not like... Yeah, I don't even, for this one, I don't even know what's going on with groups here too. I don't know if we would need to do that when we were reading. So yeah, definitely with white balance, I am thinking that just setting the value is going to be a lot easier. Because, yeah, like I said, I don't know. When you go to read, would you have to do these kinds of things? I'm not sure. But if we just save it into a variable, then we definitely don't have to. And it will start on 0, which seems like is the default. So it will return 0 when it hasn't been changed, but when it has been changed, it will update. Okay. I already have that fork too. It's not going to be in that list because I've never opened it before. It's not going to be in this list because it wants to refresh. What was it? EV stands for what again? Exposure? Yeah, exposure value. Okay, so we check first. Only if it's in the range, then we set it. I will say, though, this is also looking wrong, right? This says 3 to 3. This says 4 to 4. That says 4 to 4 as well. And it says value less than or equal to 3, so it's not going to allow you to do 4. And this list is 3, so I think those are also, I think the comments are wrong. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to cut you off before 3, and then we're getting a thing that says 0, 1, 2, 3, so that's got to be 3. White balance, maybe... white balance has its own thing for value. Kind of. It's basically the same thing. It's just using this instead of hardcoding 4. And okay, I see. Doesn't Saturation levels. Oh, okay, that's actually auto, which is 0. Okay. I'm caught up now. So this one doesn't let you go negative. It's 0 through the top one, which is 4 or 5 or whatever. 4. Different rules, but still same deal. It's doing the validation first. And after it validates, we can save it to self.whitebalance so that we can actually access it. Night mode is reading the register, so that one shouldn't have that problem. Contrast is reading the register, so it shouldn't have that problem. Brightness is reading the register. Quality is reading the register. Effect is getting set here. So that one will get updated. Saturation is getting set here, so that one will get updated. Interestingly, saturation doesn't get, it says it's declared outside of init, so it doesn't have a 0, seems like. Color space gets set. Okay. So yeah, maybe we would want to add the one that wasn't getting initialized to 0, but I'm not sure if 0 is the correct default or not, so I'm not going to do that just yet. I am going to save this. I am going to add my remote. I think I'm not going to push this one just yet. I will try to test this on the Memento camera, since that's the right camera for this. And then I'll make the PR after I test it, but I think I'm going to wrap up for now after I get this added and pushed. Well, not pushed, but committed, I guess, locally here. I suppose I could push. EV white balance. Getter. Thanks. Okay, I think that is going to do it for today. I'm going to wrap it up there. We're a few minutes early, but I don't think there's anything else to be able to tackle in 10 minutes anyway. I got to run to the restroom, so yeah, seems like a good time to wrap it up. Thank you to everyone for watching. Hope you all have a good rest of your Saturday and a good weekend. If you are celebrating the holidays in the upcoming week, hope you have nice holidays. Yeah, like I said at the top, I think I will not be around next Saturday, so no stream next Saturday. We'll be back at the normal time on the 4th. And like I said at the beginning, you know, same thing goes. I might pop up at some point, but it will be kind of random. You can follow me if you want to get the notification for that. Otherwise, the 4th will be back for the normal time on Saturday. Have a good day.